My name is Laura. This is my story. I want to tell you about my life. I want to tell you about my marriage. And I want to tell you about my husband's family. I speak slowly. I use simple words. You can relax and listen. I am Laura. I am a simple woman. I live a quiet life. I work every day. I try to be kind. I try to be calm. I met my husband years ago. His name is Peter. Peter was kind to me. Peter was gentle. Peter listened to me. I felt safe with him. We talked every day. We laughed together. We shared simple dreams. We wanted a calm life. We wanted peace. Peter asked me to marry him. I said yes. I was happy. I felt love in my heart. After we married, things changed. Not fast, not in one day. But little by little, Peter had a family. His family was close to him, very close. His parents were always there. At first I tried to smile. I tried to be polite. I tried to be friendly. I visited his parents. I greeted them. I helped in the kitchen. I cleaned the table. I listened more than I spoke. His mother watched me. She watched my hands. She watched my face. She watched my words. His father spoke little. He looked serious. He did not smile at me. I felt small in their house. I felt quiet. I felt careful. Peter said, "They are good people." Peter said, "They need time." I believed him. I trusted Peter. Days passed, weeks passed, months passed. Each visit felt heavy. Each word felt sharp, but I stayed calm. I told myself, "Be patient." I told myself, "This will pass." I wanted peace. I wanted a simple marriage. But inside me, something hurt. Inside me, something felt wrong. I did not speak about it. I stayed silent. I stayed polite. I loved Peter. That was enough for me, or so I thought. Life continued after the wedding. I woke up early every day. I made coffee. I prepared breakfast. I went to work. Peter worked too. We had a simple routine. We ate dinner together. We watched TV. We talked about small things. At home, I felt calm. At home, I felt safe. But family days were different. Every weekend we visited Peter's parents. Every weekend I felt the same tension. His mother asked many questions. She asked about my job. She asked about my food. She asked about my choices. She did not ask with kindness. She asked with judgment. She said, "Why do you work so much?" She said, "Why do you cook like this?" She said, "Why do you dress like that?" I smiled. I answered softly. His father stayed quiet, but his eyes followed me. At the table, I felt nervous. I ate slowly. I chose my words carefully. Peter did not notice. Or maybe he did, but he said nothing. On the way home, I stayed silent. Peter talked about his parents. He said, "They worry about us." I nodded. I did not argue. Inside me, I felt tired, very tired. One day, his mother said something new. She said it calmly, but her words hurt me deeply. She said, "You are not like us." I froze. I did not speak. Peter heard it. He looked at me, then he looked away. That moment stayed in my mind. It stayed in my heart. After that day I felt different. I felt distant. I felt alone. At night I lay in bed. I stared at the ceiling. I asked myself many questions. Should I speak? Should I stay quiet? I chose silence. I wanted peace. I wanted to protect my marriage, but my silence had a cost, and I did not see it yet. Time passed slowly. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. I tried to focus on my life. I focused on my work. I focused on my home. But family visits continued. Every visit felt heavier than before. His mother spoke less, but her looks said a lot. She corrected me often. She corrected my words. She corrected my actions. She said, "This is not how we do it." She said, "In our family, we do things differently." I felt like a guest, not a daughter, not family. One evening, I helped in the kitchen. I washed the dishes. I dried the plates. She watched me again. She shook her head. She said, "You don't know how to take care of a home." Those words cut deep, but I stayed calm. I looked at Peter. He stood near the door. He heard everything. He said nothing. That silence hurt more than her words. That night I cried quietly. I did not want Peter to hear. I told myself, "Be strong." I told myself, "This is temporary." But the feeling stayed. One weekend we stayed home. No visit, no tension. I felt light. I felt free. Peter noticed. He said, "You look happier today." I smiled, but I did not answer. Inside me, I knew the reason. I started to avoid visits. I made excuses. I worked late. Peter did not like it. He said, "They miss you." I felt confused. I felt torn. I loved my husband, but his family hurt me. I was stuck between love and pain. And soon, I had to choose. One evening, Peter came home late. He looked tired. He looked serious. We sat at the table. Dinner was quiet. Then Peter spoke. He said, "My parents asked about you." I stayed silent. He said, "They feel sad." He said, "They think you don't like them." My heart beat fast. I felt pressure in my chest. I spoke slowly. I said, "They hurt me." Peter looked surprised. He said, "They don't mean it." I tried again. I said, "Their words hurt." I said, "Their looks hurt." Peter sighed. He said, "They are my parents." That sentence stayed in the air. I felt small again. I felt alone again. That night I slept badly. I woke up many times. In the morning I felt tired. But my mind was clear. I knew something had to change. The next visit came soon. I went with Peter. At the door, my body felt tense. My hands were cold. Inside, his mother smiled. But the smile felt empty. She said, "You came." I nodded. During lunch, she spoke loudly. She spoke about family. She spoke about respect. She looked at me. She said, "A wife must know her place." The room went quiet. I looked at Peter. I waited. Peter stayed silent. In that moment, I felt something break. Not loud. Not fast, but clear. I understood then. I understood my place. I finished my meal. I stood up. I said, "I need air." Outside, I breathed deeply. My hands shook. I did not cry. I felt calm. Calm I never felt before. That day changed me. After that day, I became quiet. Very quiet. I stopped trying to please them. I stopped smiling for comfort. At home, Peter noticed the change. He asked, "Are you okay?" I said, "I am tired." It was true. I was tired of being patient. I was tired of waiting. Days passed. We spoke less. At night we sat in silence. The TV was on, but we did not watch. One evening Peter spoke again. He said, "My mother called." My body froze. He said, "She feels hurt." I looked at him. I said nothing. He continued. He said, "She thinks you are cold." That word hurt. Cold. I was not cold. I was wounded. I spoke slowly. I said, "I feel invisible." Peter looked confused. He said, "I don't understand." I explained with simple words. I said, "They speak." I said, "You stay silent." Peter looked down. He said, "I don't want conflict." That sentence hurt deeply. I did not want conflict either. I wanted respect. That night, I sat alone. I thought about my life. I thought about love. I thought about family. I asked myself a question. How long can I stay like this? I did not know the answer. The next morning, I woke up early. I made coffee. I looked at my hands. They shook a little. I took a deep breath. I decided something important. I decided to speak. That evening, Peter came home. I waited for him. We sat together. The room was quiet. I spoke first. I said, "We need to talk." Peter looked nervous, but he listened. I spoke slowly. I used simple words. I said, "Your parents hurt me." I said, "I feel alone." I said, "I need your support." Peter stayed silent. I waited, then he spoke. He said, "I don't want to choose." Those words were clear. I felt my chest tighten. I said, "I am not asking you to choose." I said, "I am asking you to stand with me." Peter looked away. He said, "They will not change." That answer hurt. I understood then. I understood everything. The problem was not only his parents. The problem was us. I stood up. I felt strong. I said, "I cannot live like this." Peter looked scared. He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I need space." That night I slept in another room. The days after felt strange, quiet, empty. Peter tried to talk. I listened, but my heart was distant. I thought about my future. I thought about peace. One truth was clear. I could forgive many things, but some pain stays. And that pain changed me. Days passed slowly after that talk. Very slowly. The house felt different. The air felt heavy. Peter tried to be kind. He asked simple questions. He asked about my day. I answered. But my voice felt empty. I was polite, but I was distant. One morning I packed a small bag, just clothes, just simple things. Peter watched me. He did not stop me. He said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I need time." He nodded. I stayed with a friend. Her home was quiet. Her home felt safe at night. I slept better. I breathed deeply. For the first time in months, my body felt calm. Peter called me. He sent messages. I answered sometimes, not always. I needed silence. One day his mother called me. I did not answer. She called again. I let the phone ring. I was not ready. Later Peter called. He sounded tired. He said, "They are worried." I said, "I am tired too." He stayed silent. In that silence, I felt strong. I was no longer afraid. I understood something important. Forgiveness needs respect, and respect was missing. That truth was clear. I looked at myself in the mirror. I saw a tired woman, but I also saw courage. I said softly, "I matter too." That moment stayed with me. After some days, Peter came to see me. He looked different. He looked older. We sat at the table. Between us there was silence. Peter spoke slowly. He said, "I talked to my parents." I listened. He said, "They don't understand." He said, "They think you are sensitive." I felt a small pain, but I stayed calm. I said, "I am not sensitive." I said, "I am hurt." Peter nodded, but his eyes were unsure. He said, "They are my family." I looked at him. I spoke clearly. I said, "I am your family too." That moment was heavy. Peter looked down. He rubbed his hands. He said, "I feel stuck." I understood him, but I also understood myself. I said, "I can forgive many things." I said, "But I cannot forget everything." Peter stayed silent. I continued. I said, "I need peace." I said, "I need respect." He nodded slowly. He asked, "What do you want?" I took a deep breath. I said, "I need distance from them." Peter looked surprised, but he did not argue. He said, "I need time to think." I said, "Take your time." That day we did not fight. We did not cry. We just spoke the truth. And sometimes, the truth is quiet. After that conversation, I stayed quiet. I gave Peter time. I focused on my days. I woke up early. I made coffee. I went for short walks. I felt the air. I felt the sun. Each day I felt stronger. Peter called sometimes. He spoke softly. He said, "I am thinking." I listened. I did not push. One evening he came again. He looked calm. We sat together. No pressure. He spoke slowly. He said, "I understand you more now." I listened carefully. He said, "I see your pain." He said, "I stayed silent too long." Those words touched me. He continued. He said, "I talked to my parents." My heart beat faster. He said, "I set limits." He said, "I told them to respect you." I stayed quiet. He said they were not happy. He said, "But I was clear." I felt relief, a soft relief. I said, "Thank you." Peter looked at me. He said, "I don't want to lose you." I felt emotion, but I stayed calm. I said, "I need actions." I said, "Not only words." He nodded. We agreed on something simple. We agreed on distance. We agreed on peace. That night I slept well. For the first time in a long time, my heart felt light. I knew something important. Forgiveness is a choice, and I was not ready yet, but I was healing. Time passed after that night. Days became calm again. Peter and I moved slowly, step by step. We spent time together. We talked more. We listened more. There were no visits. There were no calls. The silence felt good. I felt safe again. I felt seen. Peter respected the distance. He did not push me. That helped. One afternoon, I sat alone. I thought about everything. I thought about pain. I thought about love. I asked myself one question: can I forgive? The answer was not clear. I knew one thing: I would not forget, and that was okay. Forgiveness is not fast. Forgiveness is not easy. Sometimes forgiveness needs time. I chose peace first. I chose myself first. Peter stayed with me. He learned. I learned too. Our marriage changed, but it did not end. It became more honest. Today I am calm. I am not angry, but I am careful, and that is my truth. This was my story. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, you can listen to more stories here. You can subscribe to the channel. You can leave a comment. Tell me how you felt, and come back to listen again.